Welcome to Del Mar, California, Kitchen with a View. I'm Mike, and with the big game coming up this coming Sunday, we're gonna get you ready to be the hit of any Super Bowl party. We're gonna take you through some amazing nachos, fresh Pico de Gallo, and you're sure to be the hit of any of your Super Bowl parties. So let's get right into it. First things first, fresh vegetables. You're gonna wanna make sure when you go to the grocery store, farmer's market, whatever it may be, you're gonna wanna look for tomatoes on the vine if you can, nice and fresh. Great, beautiful color. And just, you don't really need them super hard, but a little bit firm, just in terms of you don't want them good to go to mush. We're not making pasta sauce. So we're just gonna. Quick rinse. If you have a Cuisinart or any other fun gadget, by all means use it. If you don't, no big deal. You can just chop it, chop everything by hand. It's gonna be exactly the same process, but we might as well use it since we got it. So you're just gonna give a rough chop on the tomatoes. If you want, what I usually do is put one in with the seeds and everything on the inside. Just gives it a little bit more liquid. Do that. And then the remaining ones we're gonna core. So you can just take a tablespoon, reach right in there, and then you've just got the skin. So what that's gonna do is just give you the tomato without all the liquid and the juice, which can sometimes overpower your Pico de Gallo. So, fresh Pico de Gallo, real basic ingredients. We got fresh tomatoes, fresh cilantro. We're gonna put some Serrano pepper, lime juice, salt, pepper, white onion. Depending on the heat, you can either taper back or add more Serranos, no big deal. I use Serranos instead of jalapenos just because they have a better flavor in my opinion. Plus they're gonna give you a little bit more heat. If you wanna just have the flavor without the heat, you can always take the seeds out. But we're gonna go middle of the road spiciness. So we'll probably use maybe 1.5. So you got your tomatoes there. I'm gonna prep that lime. Just get it like this. Save that for later. Okay, so really with the Cuisinart, you can just put everything in there, nice rough chop. You don't really even need to be very precise. Beautiful fresh flavors coming through. We're gonna use about half of this onion. You can always add a little bit more, but you don't want to overpower it. Tomatoes are pretty subtle, and the white onion is gonna come through, and we don't want to have our salsa just tasting like onion. Quick quarter chop there. And if you don't have a Cuisinart, blender works as well. Just make sure you wash it out before you make the margaritas. And just a little bit of coarse sea salt for some flavor. Fresh cracked pepper. The lime juice. Give it a couple pulses. And then just depending on how you like your salsa, some people like it with the chunks, just like this. Give it a couple more. Looking pretty good. A little bit more salt. And we're gonna let that hang out, and that'll be perfect for when we're ready to put it on top of our nachos. In 5 or 6 minutes, you've created a fresh product, healthy, and it's also gonna be a lot more impressive when you show up, rather than just opening the jar and pouring it on the chips and salsa. You've made your fresh Pico de Gallo, less than 10 minutes, ready to go. We'll set that in there for a little bit later, and we will get right into the nachos. Same thing, you know, you can throw some chips on a plate, you can melt them in the microwave, and you can be pretty boring and unoriginal. but you put a little bit of effort into it, it can be the standout at any party. Really not that difficult, and basic ingredients, but from scratch, it's gonna make a much better product. Okay, first things first, we're gonna do chicken. So, what we've got here is just some basic, you can use skin on, these are actually skinless chicken thighs. The reason I use thighs, a little bit more flavor, not to mention they're nice and thin. They're gonna cook evenly, consistently, and then we're gonna cut them into nice strips to put on the nachos. But at the end of the day, they have a little bit more flavor than chicken breast. Grapeseed oil, give those a nice marination of that. Reason I use grapeseed oil is so you can get it with, we're gonna sear these and finish them in the oven. High heat, high smoke point, we're not gonna burn like olive oil. And just kind of get them coated because we're gonna add our seasonings. Pretty simple. We got cayenne and then we've got California chili powder. Pretty liberal amount of both. I'd estimate it's probably a tablespoon of each. And then just some, again, our coarse sea salt. Just a little bit. You don't need a ton. And get them evenly coated, mixed around there, so you've got some nice flavor going on in there. While that's marinating for a second, we are going to prep the cheese. Now, if you wanted to just do some sort of a blend, traditionally you could do, you know, a cheddar and a jack. You could do just straight jack. Cheese grater, pepper jack. Get a bowl. Great. Our cheese. Good. Nice and light and fluffy. You can buy shredded cheese, but one more step, do it yourself. You get these nice long pieces as opposed to when you buy it shredded from the store. You're not gonna get as even of a melt. We're going to sear the chicken, get a nice crust on it, and then we're gonna finish it in the oven, cut it into nice slices, build our nachos, and then put this Pico de Gallo salsa to go. So if you got a heavy bottom cast iron pan, I recommend getting it nice and hot. As with anything, when you're gonna be searing, you wanna get that pan really, really hot. Again, we're gonna use the grapeseed oil. It's gonna allow us to get that to the searing point, get a nice crisp on there. And then again, if you wanted to, you could make your own tortilla chips. If you have a deep fryer at home, go for it. If not, store-bought ones are just fine. You wanna look for the ones that are gonna have nice shape, texture. The authentic ones are sometimes a little bit thicker, but that'll do the trick. Store-bought chips for this purpose, no problem. So we're also gonna put on our nachos some more Serranos. So with your remaining Serrano peppers, just go ahead and cut those into nice angled bits. And depending on how crazy you wanna get, we like it spicy here in Del Mar, so I'm gonna take our chicken thighs, put them in the pan. You can hear that, nice sizzle. We got our chicken thighs, nice brown crispy sear right there. More so if you had left the skin on, and nice and crispy, but all that beautiful flavor and spice right there. So we're gonna let those, that's exactly where we want them. We're gonna transfer to a tray. Okay, so we're gonna get the chicken thighs into the oven, put it on broil. So we got the chicken working, we got a plate, we're gonna build our nachos. And what is the biggest annoying thing whenever you have nachos? You get to the bottom, none of the cheese is melted and everything's cold, and it's just not the greatest. So this is a two-step approach. You're gonna take your chips. I'm gonna build a nice base layer. Just like making a pizza. Get our cheese going. Nice around the bottom. We give the Serranos a nice chop. Doesn't need to be anything fancy. Spread those about. A little bit more of our fresh cilantro. So we've built the base layer. We're gonna get that in the oven working, melting nice. Take a look at our chicken thighs, sizzling beautifully. I'm gonna pull those out. We're gonna let our chicken rest here for a minute, let some of those natural juices that when you cook a protein that get zapped into there, we're gonna let those just rest so they're gonna come back to their natural state, gonna produce a much juicier end product. All said and done, that was about 9 minutes on the chicken. We had about 5 in the pan and about 4 in the broiler. So that's what you want, is a nice crisp, cooked all the way through, but still it's gonna be juicy and moist and gonna be a delicious addition to our game day nachos. Getting pretty close, about 30 more seconds on the first layer. Our chicken should be cool enough. So what we're gonna wanna do is just put this into nice strips like this. As you can see, cooked all the way through. Still nice and moist. Deliciously seasoned. All right, so got our first round. We'll save those 2 for the top. Let's go grab our chips. So fresh out of the oven, we've got our first layer. Deliciously melted. I'm gonna build on some more ingredients. Make sure we're getting the cheese all, the chicken spread around. So we've got our first layer built right here. Beautiful. The chicken's crisp, nice and moist. The cheese is melted. The chips are browned. We got our cilantro, as well as some Serrano melted in there. It's gonna be beautiful. So we're just gonna repeat exactly what we did before. Nice rough chop. On our Serrano. Another layer there. We're gonna finish off the chicken. Distribute that around a little bit. Add some more chips. And we're going for it this time. Get the cheese completely covered. More pieces of chicken on the top. And back in the oven we go. The nachos are in the oven, the cheese is melting, the chicken is beautiful. We're gonna let that melt, get together. We'll be right back. We're gonna finish the salsa, garnish it, and we'll be ready to go. So we should be nice and melted. And we are. Beautiful. Back to our fresh Pico de Gallo. This has had time to let all those flavors hang out, set up, get together. It's just gonna be beautiful. So, basically, to present, get a dish for your salsa. In there. Look at all that fresh flavors. for a little color on top. A little bit fresh cilantro as some garnish. And you're ready for the big game. Like we like to say here at Kitchen with a View, look good. You always want to finish your meal. A little extra garnish. Present the salsa. Just put it together. Make it complete. Make it look nice. Look good. Taste good. Fresh ingredients. Made with a little bit of care. Take the extra step. Make the salsa from scratch instead of out of the jar. Layer the cheese so you're coming up every time with a nacho with cheese on it. Enjoy the big game. Like we like to say, Saturday is always a rugby day. We'll take Sunday. Go Broncos. Make sure you check us out on our social media. The links are all below. We got a lot of great things coming up this year. And subscribe so you can see more of Kitchen with a View. We'll see you next time.